You said something that I thought was really, really interesting, and I hope people hear this in an action-oriented way. You said everything we know is something we learned. Let's think about that for a minute because that's a simple statement, but it's really profound. Anything that's been learned can be unlearned,
Correct.
and anything that we've learned, we can relearn, we can add to it, we can change it. And if somebody has a victim mentality, they have a way of going through life with a chip on their shoulder, they have a way of being pessimistic or paranoid or negative in any way, they've learned that. It's been reinforced in them in some way. Maybe it was their parents, maybe it was the people they hung out with, maybe it was just what they said to themselves about things that happened in their life. But it's not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to get you to a place in your life where you can feel safe and at peace and have joy like you're talking about. For example, I always say when you see people that are angry, that's just an outward manifestation of hurt, fear, and frustration. And if you look past the anger, you'll see that this person is hurt. It's like a cornered animal. It's like they're afraid. And what I want people to hear you saying, what I want young men to hear you saying is, okay, wait a minute. I can continue to do what I'm doing, but play this movie out till the end. What if I continue to have a chip on my shoulder? What if I continue to play the victim? What if I continue to feel put upon and be the angry young black man? Okay, where's that headed? Where's that going to get you? As opposed to saying, wait a minute, I'm smart, I'm able-bodied, I'm capable. I can choose my own course here. Those are two different paths that have two different destinations. And the destination you're advocating is to star in your own life, to write your own script and get where you want to go instead of where somebody's setting you up to be.
That's correct. Yeah.
But they don't teach that in schools. We barely teach reading, writing, and arithmetic, let alone how to deal with the challenges of life, the disappointments, the conflicts, the frustrations. We don't really teach that at any level in school, which I advocate for, but they don't seem to do it much.
Yeah, yeah. You know, God created us to live life from the inside out, not from the outside in. If any person is subject to living life from the outside in based upon external circumstances, your life will be a constant yo-yo and you will never have peace. You'll never have peace of mind. You'll never experience emotional peace when you live in response to the external stimuli. I've studied Viktor Frankl a little bit, an Austrian Holocaust survivor. And he makes a statement that between every stimulus and every response, there's a space. And I've embraced that idea and taken it a little further in the zero victim message and saying that life is filled with stimulus in every situation. But here's the thinking. Here's the idea. A victim thinker will react by reflex. A zero victim thinker will respond by reason. So in other words, there's always a stimulus. There's always a trigger. There's always an injustice or something that happened that took place. There will always be victimizations in life. It's part of life. But a victim thinker will react by reflex. And before you know it, you just reacted a certain way emotionally. I say that it's important for us to act intelligently and not react emotionally in any situation. But a zero victim thinker, instead of reacting by reflex, a zero victim thinker will respond by reason. There's a big difference between reacting and responding to things that happen to us in life. And here's the fallout. Victimization in our life, when we talk about it being learned, and it's something that it's acquired over time. You know what I mean? A victim thinker sees himself as a negative recipient. It's a conditioned mindset that you see yourself as a negative recipient of the thoughts, words, or actions of people or circumstances. And here's the problem with it. Victim thinking works like a set of lenses that once you put those lenses on, you will literally read victimization into everything that happens to you in life. I talk with young women that maybe a dating situation went bad a few times. You know what? Every potential new guy that comes along has to deal with all of the trauma and all the issues of the bad guys. And you know what? Who suffers? You remain single all of your life because you will read victimization into conversations. What he did do, he didn't compliment me. He didn't do all these kinds of things. And you will literally begin to read victimization into your life, which defines the trajectory of your life for the remainder of your life. And it works multi-generationally. The cycle has to be broken. And so my encouragement to people is to get free so that you can also set up the folks that come after you to walk in that same freedom. Be the Moses in your life. Be the Moses in your family to come out of Egypt and to set a new trajectory to get to the place that God has for you.
You bring up such a good point. It takes creating some space. Viktor Frankl, his book, Man's Search for Meaning, is an introduction to logotherapy, is the best half book I've ever read. Not a big fan of logotherapy, but the other half of that book, Man's Search for Meaning, is one of the most profound. I've probably given away 200-300 copies of the book, but he talks about that, creating that space, because he said that they took away everything in that concentration camp, so they can control whether I sit, stand, eat, starve, live, die, but they can't control the attitude I take about it.
That's it. Yeah.
That's the one thing they can't control, is the attitude I take about it. That's what you're saying, is if you create some space and not just knee-jerk react to this, and in that space you can respond instead of react. I had a mother and her two sons on some time ago, some young Black teenagers and good-looking kids, and they were talking about that they had been out in the evening. It wasn't particularly late, but they were at a fast food restaurant. A couple of cops came in and started hassling them. And as it turned out, as this was looked into and verified, clearly for no reason, they were just guilty of being hungry while Black. And so they were at not the drive-through, but inside getting some food. And they were real angry when they were here and said, "What should we do?" And the advice I gave them was, you should do exactly what those cops tell you. They have badges, and you have to defer to the badge. They have guns. They have agency. They have authority. And your job, you have one job, and that's to get home to your mother alive tonight. And that encounter in that fast food restaurant is the most dangerous 5 minutes of your life. Your job is to get home alive to your mother. You've got to pick your battles. You've got to pick your battlefields. You've got to pick your battle times.
Right.
And your job is to get home alive. Now, you can get up the next morning. You can go down to the precinct. You can file a complaint. You can get those security tapes. You can do whatever you want. And trust me, those police departments pay out millions of dollars a year for misconduct.
Yeah.
You pick your battles, you pick your battle times, your battlefields, but you get home alive. That's what you needed to do. And they did barely in that situation. And that's what you're talking about. Make a response, not a reaction.
Yep.
They were right. They didn't need to be right fighters. They needed to get home alive to their mother. And their mother just burst into tears saying, "Oh my God, thank you for telling it to my boys." Right. They had a choice.
Yeah, that's a real scenario, and Doctor, I've been in that position myself. I'll give you a story that affirms everything that you're saying. You know, we moved recently, but before we lived in the northwest suburbs of Chicago, a pretty nice area, and somewhat isolated, and only the folks that live in that community who are, folks who have done well in life, we're the only folks that go in that area. Well, every year we have this turkey trot. So there's a run, a 5K run through our neighborhood. Everybody in the neighborhood knows that the streets are going to be blocked off and the runners are going to be there. So I wake up on a Saturday morning, go to the health club, go to my workout, coming back, the turkey trot is happening. There are checkpoints with police officers to get back to my house. I kid you not. The first checkpoint I come to was a police officer of Asian descent. Sir, do you live in this neighborhood? Yes, I do. Okay, stay on the left side of the road. Watch out for the runners. Be safe. Thank you so much, sir. I get to the next checkpoint. It's a black police officer. I'm not kidding you. He was a black police officer. You live in this neighborhood, sir? I do. Be safe. Watch out for the runners. Have a great day. I get to the third checkpoint. Now, I've already been through two, so this guy should be a breeze. I get to the third checkpoint. It's a white police officer. He has an angry look on his face as he sees me approaches. Now, I'm watching other cars before me go on around the block. I get to him thinking this is going to be a piece of cake. Good morning, sir. How you doing? He's looking at me with disdain on his face. Do you live in this neighborhood? I say, yes, I do. What street do you live on? I named my street. How far down is that street? I had to describe to him where my street was. Now this time you talk about the victimization, oil is rising, the temperature gauge is going up. And then he says, let me see your driver's license. Now I've been through two checkpoints. I've described to you accurately where I live. Let me see your driver's license. He sees my driver's license, looks at him to prove that I lived there. He kind of throws them back to me and says, watch out for the runners. Now, at this point, I'm saying clearly, this man has a problem with me being a black guy living in this kind of neighborhood, to your point. But a zero victim mindset in me was there to override the emotional reaction that I could have had. That was right around the time I think Laquan McDonald had been shot in the city of Chicago. So, I mean, Chicago is kind of a powder keg. But it's that space that I was able to operate in to respond with reason and not react by reflex, because you said the guy, he has a badge and a gun, and the state has given him the authority to use it. If I respond, if I react a certain way, that's a dangerous situation. So it happens. And again, I want to equip as many people as I can, especially in this area, with this zero victim mindset.